Good evening and welcome to Upon Further Review, your one source for all things high school football, Northeast Indiana. Alongside 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗁𝚘𝗏, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. We thank you for joining us tonight, whatever platform you may be listening to us on, be it the podcast or on YouTube or 1380 The Fan 100.9. We appreciate you taking time to catch us here each and every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And we get the full thing going this week with all 5 and 6A and 5A joining us into the sectionals. And this past Friday night, it was a night of first in the playoffs for a lot of teams. And unfortunately, at this time of year, you either win or go home. And we were out at Leo High School for the Bishop Dwenger Leo High School ball game. And again, Dwenger proves that it's got a defense that somebody's going to have to try to deal with, because nobody has really scored on this defense. They're only giving up like 6.8 points a game, Eric, and then add to it Henry Jordan, who he just had on last week and talking about his proficiency to throw the football, came to life in that ball game and made some big plays down the field. Their defense made some big plays. I mean, it was really a very dominant win over the Leo Lions as they kept Nathan Foster in check for the better part of that game.
Yeah, I think all said and done, 43 yards for Nate Foster, which that was a young man who was averaging, 190 up near 200 yards a game. And Dwenger, again, their defense able to shut down a high-powered offense, in this particular case, more of a ground offense, running game offense. And so, the defense, I think, led the way once again, which ultimately, set up the offense to have a really good night. And I think really in that second half where they started really pulling away when the offense got clicking, there was a big interception return from Houston Ellinger, another young man who had a big night for the Dwenger Saints. And so there were, really strong showing all over the field on both sides of the ball for Dwenger. And, that was what the question was leading into that game, because Leo gets Nate Foster back, and it was the running game, the running attack led by Nate Foster versus that stout Dwenger defense. And ultimately Dwenger showed they were the winner of that battle and ultimately the victor, and they move on to the sectional semis.
Yeah, and again, this Dwenger defense has done it all year within the Summit Athletic Conference. The only team that really kind of solved them was Northrop during the season. But again, they showed why on Friday on how good they are. And so did Lucas Wynn, kicking a 50-yard field goal. That kid has got one lively leg, and he may win them a game down the road because he's got such a big leg. I would guess to say he's probably got at least 55 in him, and it may be even further than that, because the ball just jumps off his foot. And the 50-yarder that he kicked, I mean, he had a good 5, 6, 7 yards more on that one. So he is definitely a huge weapon for Bishop Dwenger, and a huge weapon on kickoffs, because you might as well just go ahead and set it at the 20, because he's going to kick it through the end zone, which is another huge advantage. So
you take out the return game from Nate Foster, who was doing that too for Leo, and ultimately for Lucas Wynn, 2 50-yarders this season. We've seen both, and you talk about winning games. I mean, ultimately, when you go back to that 9-6 Northrop Carroll game that ultimately decided the SAC, that was a huge kick for him. Henry Jordan, 2 touchdowns on the night, 1 passing to Carter Zent and another rushing touchdowns. And of course, Ellinger and AJ Shefferly, the 2 touchdown runs for Dwenger. And Leo came in. We had seen them a week ago. They took the loss to DeKalb at DeKalb, and talking to Jason Dorfler in the PSM pregame show, he was talking about how, it didn't affect our seeding. It didn't affect, we get Nate back and we turn the page, and they knew what the challenge was. I mean, Jason Dorfler and Leo certainly know how good that Dwenger defense was, and Dwenger lived up to it. And the Saints go marching on, and the Lions roar is silent.
Well, and that was section. sectional 19. And in that sectional 19, Southside East Noble advanced. They'll play Friday night at 7 p.m. And then the big upset in my mind was the Columbia City Eagles over DeKalb Friday night. So they will now get the opportunity to go play Bishop Dwenger at Shields Field on Friday night. Columbia City is grounded in a run specific offense. And a little specialty in that regard, because they do run some of the run and shoot wing T concepts. So Dwenger will be challenged that way. But that's the next up for that bracket on Friday night. And, talking about Southside, they get a huge win over Wayne and basically never in doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they follow up, and it's been a tremendous year for Southside and what they've been able to do. Now getting 3 wins on the year. I'm going to pull up the sectional bracket here if it pops up here. Yeah, there we go. And, so they get the big win on Friday night, handle business over Wayne, move to 3-7. Now they draw East Noble. Obviously, that is going to be challenged. Number 1 team in Class 4A is East Noble. But I think for Southside too, like just their ability to continue to improve and what they've been able to do. And I think over time, consistency in keeping a coach. They have Andre Goodwill as their coach now. I think this is year 4 for him. So you think of those seniors that have gone through the program. This is year 3 or 4 for him, building that program up. And really having a coach for more than 1 year or 2 years, because there was a time where that was happening at Southside, and it's good to see consistency there and that they've been able to find a good coach and keep him for a long time.
Yeah, and he's done a tremendous job there, laying it brick by brick at Southside. And Wayne will eventually get there. Coach White, and tough year for the Generals, but hey, it's the first year, and you got to lay the foundation. And sometimes laying the foundation isn't all that pretty, especially when you're trying to rebuild a ball club. And so time will tell on all that, but. It's going to be an interesting Friday night, as well as bringing the 5A and 6A into the fray. We'll talk more about that a little bit later and talk about what's on tap for this Friday night. But I know that we got a special guest going here tonight, and thought we'd let you go ahead and bring him on in.
Yeah, well, we just talked about those Southside Archers and the big 52-14 win that they had over Wayne. To move to 3-7 and move on to the sectional semifinals. And right now we're delighted to be joined by one of the talented players from that team, running back for the Southside Archers, Chris Mhoon Jr. Chris, thanks for joining us tonight here on Upon Further Review.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, first, let's start with the big win on Friday night. You guys get a solid first-round draw in Wayne. You had beaten the Generals earlier in the year, and you come back again. And it's hard to beat a team twice. You were able to do that. Just talk about Friday night, the big sectional victory at home at Weicker Stadium for you and the Southside Archers. Just what was clicking on Friday night?
Just staying focused and practice all week, because we knew they wasn't going to be easy. We knew they was hungry for a lot. We just stayed focused, depending on each other, play for the guy next to us, and got it done.
Yeah. Talk about this year. I mean, looking through the scores, 52 on Friday, that makes for 4 times now that this Wayne team has cracked 40 points or more, 42 points or more. Talk about the growth of this team, the development. We mentioned it. Year 3 for Coach Goodwill. You're a senior on this team. Talk about how this entire Southside program has been able to improve over the last couple of years and get some wins along the way, which really is what counts in football is the wins and losses.
Right. Really just playing together, coming together as a family. Just playing together. He gives us good advice every day on and off the field. He just wants us to be great in life.
Yeah. It's been a big year for you too, Chris. I know seeing some of this footage out from practice early in the year. I was out of practice a couple weeks back when you were able to had a big game against Wayne the first time around. I think it's working there. You guys were able to get a big win over Wayne, and you had a huge night, 309 yards rushing. You also had a big punt return for a touchdown. Ultimately set the school record for Southside. Just talk about that. I mean, really the season that you've been able to have, and just your growth as a running back on this team, and just what you'll remember about the season and what you guys have been able to do, and how you kind of took off this year.
Just me from not playing as much really last year, coming out all summer, playing hard, working hard, knowing what I could do. My team, they pushed me a lot. It was very good for me to have that, have that game.
Yeah, and that set the all-time record for a game, breaking Lamar Smith, who went on to go play in the NFL, played at the University of Houston. I asked you then, were you familiar with who Lamar Smith was, a talented running back in the 80s and 90s at Southside, when you heard that you broke that record?
No, I actually didn't.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that, setting that record and how special it is to be part of this team. What has been the biggest for you to improve on as we look at that tweet that Southside Athletics put out, the previous record, 275 yards, the ability to do what you do? What have you worked most on this past year to become an all SAC running back, by the way? Congrats on that accolade. What has the last year been like you, and what you've been working on to become a better running back for Southside?
Really just grinding, standing in the weight room, training a lot, just playing hard as I can. Every game I go out, play hard as I can. Yeah.
Hey, Chris, now that you guys have got that one win under your belt, moving on now into the second round in Sectional 19, you get a chance to head up to Kendallville to take on a number 1 ranked team in the country, East Noble. What is what have you guys been able to watch of East Noble? Have you been able to watch some video of them as a team?
Oh, yes, of course. We just really just picking the defense apart. Really just trying to score on the offensive side of the ball, because I know our defense is going to do what they do. Defense is pretty good there. It's really on us, coming together, playing hard, staying focused. Least mistakes as possible is going to win us the game. Trying to play perfect as possible.
Yeah. What have you thought watching East Noble's defense? What's kind of stood out to you?
Really, their linebackers are pretty good. But I'm pretty sure my line got me. We're gonna be good. We're gonna be good, and our wide receivers, they're ready for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. For you, Chris, your football journey, you talked about the Metro aspect. That is a huge thing for so many kids in Fort Wayne. We hear about Metro football a lot. You and I, we joke, we were Weiser Park kids. I heard about Metro back when I was a kid. I didn't play, but I've heard about it a long time. What has that program meant to you? I mean, you started when you were a young kid, and your football journey, just kind of walk us through that as far as what that looked like, because there was a while where you weren't playing football.
Yeah. It was a good journey. What really got me into it was when my father had passed away when I was young, but now that really drove me to play football. Really have something to play for. The Metro, the team that I played for, I could say the coaches really was there for me. It's just a good program that molded me to a good man I am.
Excellent. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, it's been a tremendous year for you guys, and what you've been able to do as an individually, and setting the school records that you have, and then also too what Southside's been able to do. as a matter of continuing on. We really appreciate you being on tonight. My computer screen might be freezing up a little bit here, but there we go. It jumped for a minute. Yeah. So we really appreciate you coming on tonight. I may have too many screens open showing some of your highlights and stuff, but good luck to you and Southside the rest of the way. It's been a tremendous year. You guys sitting at 3-7, 6 wins under the coach Andre Goodwell era. So he's doubled his win total so far this year. Tough challenge on Friday night against East Noble, but we will certainly be watching that game in a really good sectional in Class 4A. Best of luck to you, Chris, and your future as well.
Appreciate it.
All right. That was Chris Mhoon Jr., the running back for Southside. And Coach, pretty soft-spoken kid. I've talked to him a couple times, like I said, set the school record here. But he lets his game do the talking. And if you watch the kid on film and some of the highlights he did, particularly from that record-setting game, the O-line was great for him, but also too, he really shines out there for Southside.
Yeah, he's got some, like you said, he's got really good speed. That's going to be one thing that East Noble is going to have to, figure out defensively, because they may not have that speed element on their team. So they're going to have to do a good job of keeping him, in check, because he's the type of guy that can take a team and put him on his back and make things happen. And that's going to be the big thing for East Noble on Friday night, is finding ways to keep him from running rampant around all over them. And, they play a defense that will be able to get 8 bodies in the box and eventually, having another guy to outnumber the offensive setup there. But that will be the interesting matchup, will be his ability as a running back, the speed that he has against a East Noble defense that is pretty stout as well, kind of in that same realm of Dwenger to a degree, because they can do a lot of good things. So that will be an interesting matchup on Friday night.
Yeah, and you look back, yes, they're 3-7, and obviously we're East Noble is going to be heavy favorites here. But you look at some of the things that we talked about it, 4 of their games, they were able to score 40 points, so they can score Southside. But they gave Lures fits, and they gave Homestead fits for a while. They gave Marion a fit in week 1. Even Dwenger to close out the regular season. That was a 28-12 game at Dwenger trying to wrap up an SAC championship, which they did. So I think for Southside, they know the challenge that's in front of them. And I'm sure East Noble does too, as far as, taking care of business and what's in front of you. So it should be a fun game Friday night for Southside too. First time since 2020, first time in 5 years, they've won a sectional game. So that is another feather in the cap for this Southside team this year. So we congratulate them and what they've been able to do. And Andre Goodwell, a really solid coach, a good guy, and glad to see that he's starting to get some things turned around up there, or down there, I should say, along Calhoun Street and Clinton Street, US 27 at Weicker Stadium, Southside High School. So thanks so much to Chris for coming on tonight. And it will be looking forward to that game on Friday night. Well, Coach, we're up against a break here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. When we come back, we'll talk more from the sectional Friday night last week, and we'll look ahead to sectional semis right here on Upon Further Review on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on Wednesday night, every Wednesday night here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Anywhere you guys get your streams, on video, on YouTube, on our X page, Facebook, clips on Instagram, just different ways to find us. Go ahead and like and subscribe at all, and follow at all of those places. Well, one of the big talkers really from sectionals last Friday night was Columbia City's big win over DeKalb. They avenged the loss from the regular season and get the big win in Waterloo and move on to the sectional semifinals. And tonight we're pleased to be joined by 2 of those outstanding players from the Columbia City Eagles. We have Gavin Smith and Trace Parrish. joining us here tonight. Guys, thanks so much for joining us here.
Thanks
for letting us come over.
All right. Well, big game on Friday. You guys are still playing. It's sectional semis. You guys will have Dwenger on Friday night. But take me back to last Friday, the big win against DeKalb. You guys had lost earlier in the year. Gavin, we'll start with you. What was it about this time around? What did you take from the regular season game that you guys were able to apply and get that victory over DeKalb in the sectionals?
The first time through, we obviously had like a couple mistakes that had them extend the lead on us and stuff. And then this week we were a lot more prepared. Our coaching did a lot of good things with us throughout the week, so we were just really prepared going into it. And
Sure.
how we came out with the dub.
Yeah, absolutely. A big dub it was too. Trace, you had a big game, 133 yards and a touchdown. Talk about this season for you guys and you guys 5-4 and I think in the regular season, and now 6-4. It's a tough NE8 year in and year out, and you guys know that. The preparations when you got that second crack, just talk about as the season went on, kind of the mentality of this team and when you drew DeKalb, the opportunity that presented itself to go beat them.
Well, we knew the coaches talked about how we've always wanted to get back at DeKalb because, as Gavin said, we had a lot of mistakes against them, and we just knew that wasn't our best game, and we wanted another shot at them to see what our best was. But just preparation goes weekend. Just coaches will tell us what we need to work on. We'll watch film, and we just gotta correct those mistakes. And as the season's gone on, you can see as we shifted away from that wing T, we've added in more formations just to make our offense more versatile, which I've really loved it. It allows us to be at least the defense has to be able to plan more, not just one formation. They can get they have to have more preparation. We're being able to pass the ball more. And that's what I really love, being able to add more formations and make our offense more versatile.
Wow. Yeah. And that's an interesting point that you make. I didn't really realize all that. What goes into something like that? I mean, to switch things up like that mid-season, obviously you're trying to get wins and you're trying to switch things up. But for everybody to be able to do that and find some success, I know, you're a talented running back in the NE8, Trace. Just what went into to kind of flipping that and changing up that offense that drastically? I mean, what was kind of that process like for you guys?
Well, after our games against Huntington North and DeKalb, us group came together and realized we wanted to add more formations. So coaches gave us, and everyone was able to get in their scouting report, go over these plays, and we all made sure that, because we only had a week to do this before Nathan, so all of us made sure we got in our scouting report, paid attention, and practiced and watched huddle. So it was just everyone wanting to buy in on these new formations that really helped us be able to do this so quickly and do such a sudden change.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gavin, defense obviously plays a big part of it. You're a big part of that Columbia City defense. One of the top, I don't know if are you at the top of the list on interceptions in the state right now? Or I know that number fluctuates, but one of the tops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the defense, talk a little bit about that. Just the ability for you guys to fly around the ball and get after it. I mean, when you're up there with 7-8 picks in the season, you're getting under the balls a lot. Just talk about that defensive side of the ball and really what has worked for Columbia City this year.
Yeah, a lot of it's from the pressure that our D-line creates. So, guys like Jace Pettigrew, Tanner Ryder, gets the QB and stuff like that, and that forces the QB to get the ball out quick. And our DBs are going to go make plays on the ball. Linebackers, if they will stop the run, and then they'll be forced to pass on long downs, like 3rd and long. So, yeah, that just really creates, opportunities for me to go and get interceptions.
Absolutely. And you've done it pretty well. 260 yards a game, I know was up towards 300 earlier on in the year. Do you guys call it running back by committee? I mean, there's a lot of guys that get in the stat sheet on Friday nights for you guys, particularly in the running game. Is that just part of the offensive philosophy of just keep running guys out there to keep things fresh? Or that aspect of Columbia City that we've seen for a number of years, how important that is, and the line play that you guys have, how crucial that part of it has been for you guys, the depth that you have.
Yeah,
well, obviously, or yeah, Gavin.
you got it, Trace.
Trace, both of you can take it. Trace,
I'll start us off. Well, the
big
big thing with us running the ball, we love being able to run that ball and be in control of that, like be able to control that time. Cause that's where we are our best at. When we have that ball and we can drive down the field and like get those first downs while running the ball. That's where if you saw against the Cow, when we were able to run that ball and get those first downs and be able to control that clock, that's what helps us a lot. And having a bunch of guys that are able to make those plays, get those first downs are just crucial for us. And if a guy's maybe not as fresh or cramping, we have a guy that we know can get in there and get those first downs, which is just amazing for us. And then the O-line's also just does an amazing job getting us that push that allows me, Gavin, and any other guy run the ball to get those yards and get those first downs. So obviously our philosophy is to run that ball, being in control of the game, and that's what we've always been doing.
Sure. Gavin, for you, Dwenger this Friday, another round. You guys are still playing football. You know, quite honestly, surprised a lot of people that you're there because of the way Columbia City had, but ultimately, now you move on to another good team, the SAC champion Bishop Dwenger Saints, a strong defense. What have you seen from that Dwenger offense and the offensive line? Obviously, the running game, just their style and defense too. I mean, any way you look at it, just however you want to tag it. What do you see from Dwenger that you guys are really keying in on this week? Not disposing any secrets or any game plans, but ultimately, what you're noticing from film and other things about what Dwenger brings to the table.
I really noticed on film, like their O-line's very aggressive, and so are their backs. They like to run it like right down, just like Trace, like to run you over, things like that. And then their defense, they have a really strong group of defense, so it'll be a very good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Trace, what's it like on Friday nights in Columbia City? You got that beautiful brand new school. I've been out there a few times now, and I just, wow, I marvel at it. It looks incredible. I guess it's not so, I mean, it's still a couple years old now, but what's that like? Columbia City, very proud of their athletics. On a Friday night in Columbia City, what's it like there to run out with the maroon and gold?
It doesn't get any better than that on Friday night. Seeing all those, it's just amazing how that community all comes together. And you can see in our stands, but then there's also people on the fences just surrounding the whole stadium. It makes it just truly so fun to be out there as an Eagle. And then the fireworks, and you can see around just like the people, how like it's like what they do on their Friday night. It's just amazing to see all those people cheering on us, and it really makes it so much fun and enjoyable.
Absolutely. Well, you guys are both seniors. Real quickly, what's next for both of you? Gavin, we'll start with you. What does the outlook look like for you after high school, and really what next maybe holds for you as far as playing football?
I'll probably I'm hoping to play football at either UIndy or Indiana State. Is probably my top two right now. So
okay.
And then I'll probably study like criminology, stuff like that. So.
Sure. Trace?
I plan on going to Wheaton to play football, and then I'm going to major in psychology.
Absolutely. Real quick, what's the recruiting process like? How fun is that aspect of it? Going to different schools on Saturday, seeing the game day atmosphere. Obviously, the academics are, of course, part of it, right? We got to tell mom and dad that the academics are a part of that. But ultimately, what is the recruiting process like for people that, you know, somebody like me, I never have gone through that. The aspect of having schools look at you and what feedback and what do you take away from that experience that has made you a better football player? Gavin, we'll start with you.
It's very fun. I thought going like to all the camps and stuff, I got really good as a DB, and all those coaches at those camps helped me a lot, and I improved my relationship with some of those coaches and some not. So it's just really up and down experiments or experience. Sometimes you have like dry spouts. So like my advice to like people that want to be recruited and like things like that, like don't get down on yourself, just keep grinding it out and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Trace, for you.
Big thing is like Gavin going to those camps and starting to build those relationships started to help me know like which coach is wanting to like pursue me and like I can build a relationship with, and then those coaches that I have built a relationship, being able to go to their campus and see what it's like, see how the football program really helped me make my decision.
Absolutely. Well, it's been fun to watch you guys. You guys are really talented. You play on both sides of the ball. There's a lot of guys that do that up at Columbia City. You guys fly around and do that. And you guys are still playing. You beat DeKalb last Friday night in the sectional first round. Now move on to the 4A sectional 19 semifinal against Bishop Dwenger. Is that at Columbia City or Dwenger? I don't have that right in front of me.
Dwenger.
At Dwenger. So they'll be coming to Shields Field in Fort Wayne. So it should be a good one. A really talented sectional, stacked sectional, but you guys are still playing. Gavin and Trace, thanks so much for joining us tonight on Upon Further Review. Best of luck to you on Friday, and best of luck to you in your future.
Thank
you.
All right. That was Gavin Smith and Trace Parrish, two seniors from the Columbia City football team, joining us on Upon Further Review tonight. When we come back, Coach Shannon Griffith will join us again, and we'll talk more about sectional semifinal action this Friday night all across Northeast Indiana, right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. And those that are watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you being alongside of us here tonight as we kind of reset the table coming up for this Friday. And we're going to get into some of that. We like to get through some of these results. There were a lot of good games on Friday night. We just talked to Southside High School running back Chris Mhoon Jr. and what they were able to do against Wayne, which was another big win for their ball club. And now we're in that situation where, you know, we're getting to bring in the 5A and 6A and 5A this week and add to the excitement that is sectionals, as those teams have had a week to kind of get healed up as well as prepare 2 weeks for the next challenge. But outside of those games that we have already seen on Friday, we talked about DeKalb and their getting upset, I guess you could say, by the Eagles. And now we got to jump into that next level of games from Friday night when you think about it, which I think what we just got done with sectional 19.
Yeah.
And I think that means we're down to what sectional.
Well, we'll go to 3A because, just to kind of the Cliff Notes version, there was another 4A sectional 20 with Huntington North and Logansport. And actually we can talk a little bit about that game. Huntington North, they go on the road to Logansport, the Berry Bowl, which is the basketball, but sometimes they call it the football anyway. They go to Logansport and leading most of that game. I mean, it was nip and tuck. It was a close game. And then at the end, Logansport gets past them 15-12. So Huntington North goes home early out of the first round.
I think I may have called that one. I think I may have. Because I said that game was going to be tough. And you know what?
One of the stats I saw, Jimmy Linker, senior wide receiver, another return for a touchdown. So a big night in his last game, even though the Vikings didn't lose and did lose to Logansport on Friday night. So that was the only other area team in 4A outside of that massive 4A sectional. But Huntington North takes the loss to Logansport 15-12. So they were sectional champs a year ago. And they're out after the first round.
Let's see this. I guess it would be sectional
3A would be
26 because that
26.
would be that would
I'll
that
pull
had
up
Garrett,
that 26 bracket.
That had Garrett and Fairfield and Woodland and Lakeland.
Yeah, looking at that one real quick here, and some big winners out of that one.
Yeah, I think the big winner out of that one, surprise-wise, was that Angola had beat Tippecanoe Valley in that bottom bracket, and they will face West Noble coming up this Saturday at West Noble, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And that one kind of surprised me. I don't think anything up top overly surprised us. Maybe Garrett getting a win at Fairfield, because we had talked about that's another place that's hard to win, but you had to stop the run. And so that kind of figured out the way we thought it would. But some dandy of games this coming week. Even the Angola West Noble game, I think, will be an interesting contest as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Garrett gets the big 7-0 victory on the road at Fairfield. So they beat the Falcons twice this year. And it was a late score for Garrett. So, and really there again, we kind of talked about, maybe I called this one. The defense of Garrett has really been big for Garrett because last year they get all the way to semi-state. They were scoring a lot of points. They had Cam Rubel and those guys, and they graduate a lot. Chris Depew retires from the coaching side of things. Enter Chris Albertine, the longtime defensive coordinator at Woodland, and the defense for Garrett has paid off because they're sitting at 5-5 now, which, I mean, to be honest with you, until I really saw that on paper on the John Harrell site, and once again, thanks to him for all he does so we can have these brackets right in front of you here on the screen. But ultimately, I was surprised to hear that, and see that Garrett had kind of managed to get a 5-5 season because they've had their struggles this year, but they're finding the right time and their defense is doing it. So they get that big 7-0 win because I think the previous one was 21-14. So their defense is really ratcheted up as the season has gone on, has Garrett and Abe ability. And now they move on to the next round. And that next game for them is going to be against another NECC big school, the Lakeland Lakers, who roll past Woodland 32-0 up in LaGrange. And, a big night for quarterback Braden Holbrook, who had a couple touchdowns. I think there was a pick 6 in there. And so Lakeland finding its own footing as well, 6-4. And so you look at this matchup here too, a game that was played last year at Garrett. We actually were there for the Midwest Box Breaks game of the week last year. This time it's going to be, both of these teams. It's at Garrett again. That must be what little triangle points up and down are since Lakeland had the first round game. So back at Garrett at the rail yard again. And, this could be a fun matchup where I think last year, Coach, Garrett was a team to beat and Lakeland just didn't have enough. But I think this year it's more of a conducive matchup for really both of these teams. We could see a really good classic game again up there in that sectional.
Yeah, that was a game that Garrett pretty much handled Lakeland in that ball game that we had a year ago. And that, again, will probably be another great matchup, kind of in the backyard of each other there at Garrett on Friday night. And a good matchup at Angola with Angola and West Noble. I mean, that's going to be an interesting matchup, even though Angola's 5-5. It should be a good game for them matching up against a West Noble team.
Yeah. Well, and realistically, Angola, the surprise. So basically, and I know Angola is so far up there and they played Tippecanoe Valley, which is, far western Kosciuszko County, out in Akron, Indiana, for those looking on the map. And ultimately, Tippecanoe Valley was a 7-2 team coming in, and they had won their last 5 straight over getting some big wins against the gym towns of the world, LaVille, John Glenn, Bremen. So those were some solid wins. And wow, I mean, Angola took it to them. It was another nip and tuck game, but ultimately Angola surges in the second half, gets that 21-6 win, and they're moving on. And this is a team, another 5-5 team in Angola that we really haven't seen much out of this year. I mean, they did get that big win in week 1 at DeKalb, but they lost to West Noble, they lost to Lakeland. They did beat Garrett by a field goal and lost to Eastside. So it's kind of been a roller coaster year, but when you have a second season, that's what matters. And Angola is making the most of it by getting that big win on Friday and now moving on to another NECC versus NECC sectional matchup at West Noble. And those West Noble Chargers, wow, they continue to look impressive too. Another 42-0 win over Concordia, back-to-back 42-pointers for the Chargers. And West Noble's never won a sectional, trying to put it all together. And that path gets a little bit better now that Tippecanoe Valley's out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, we thought West Noble would have the upper hand in this sectional 26 based upon past history, I guess you could say. But they'll still have a pretty good game against Angola to get by. Having it at West Noble will be a huge advantage for them as well.
Yeah. Just to And
Go ahead.
Angola and West Noble played in week 4 at West Noble. West Noble won that game 21-14. And meanwhile, on the top half side of that, Garrett and Lakeland played also in week 4 at Lakeland. Garrett got the 28-7 win there. So a big defensive effort that night from the Railroaders as well. So that should be a fun couple of games up in the northern counties of our listening and viewing area. So we'll go ahead and
28. Go to 28 because that's
28. Let me pull that up here. And
I'm trying to stay ahead so you're not trying to.
No, yeah, I know. I've got them in front of me. I just got to switch tabs on the computer here. Sectional 28, moving top to bottom, we see Mississinewa and Jay County move on, and Norwell and Lures move on. And I think the surprise out of this group is got to be Norwell. 1-8 Norwell knocks off 5-4 Heritage to move on. Norwell Knights still playing, Coach. We talked about that aspect, the schedules of the NE8 and the SAC, how that benefits come tournament time. Norwell kind of showed that on Friday night.
Yeah, and I think we had said, or you had said prior to coming on too, that you thought maybe Heritage had some significant injuries of guys out of the lineup, which may have played a part in that. We don't know for a fact, but assuming that as the case. But that's a huge win for Norwell. That's a very big win for them to get beyond Heritage. They get an opportunity now to line up against Bishop Lures. And I would say that November 7th is looking like a Mississinewa Bishop Lures rematch. For the sectional championship. So, and the way it looks as of now, based upon which way the arrows are pointing, that's probably going to be at Mississinewa if they all come out that way, since Bishop Lures is at home this week. And Mississinewa,
and Ole Miss hasn't hosted yet.
Yeah. So that would be at Mississinewa, which will be a huge advantage for Ole Miss.
Yeah, well, and Mississinewa, top 5 team in Class 3A in the final AP poll. They come into this one 9-1 against Jay County, which Jay County, just pulling up their schedule from that page real quick. Ultimately, Jay County 4-6. They've won back-to-back games now, but they're in a couple shutout a couple times and some, Adams Central Bluffton. So they play a tough schedule. Eddie Fields is their head coach. My mistake. I've been thinking for weeks that he was with Manchester, but he be with Manchester now with Jay County. Former Southside coach, now 4-6 in his first year. So he took over for Grant Zagunda. So, wow, time flies, and I guess I didn't realize that. So, anyway, but yeah, so, there again, they got a favorable draw in Belmont, knocked them off 35-0 at Belmont on Friday night. Now you move on against a tough Mississinewa team. And Mississinewa team averaging 31.6 points per game, defense just 9.7. And they had their hands full with Oak Hill, but they eventually got past it. And so on to the next round. But yeah, first year for Ole Miss's head coach, Jeremy Lochner, as well. So it should be interesting to see how that plays out. This is kind of the path, though, that Lures had a year ago, Coach, when they got to the state championship game and fell there and were state runners up. They had to go through a top 5 team in Mississinewa that had blown the doors off everybody all year. And then they had to do the same with Mechaniqua, the Francis Slocum theme there. But ultimately, Lures benefits from playing in that SAC and the competition that they play. And we talked about it on Friday on the PSM pregame show, and we've kind of talked about it all year. The young sophomores that lead that group, that lead that Lures team, are starting to get their legs under them, if you will.
Yeah.
And they're again, Lures always gets their sight set on the postseason as well.
Yeah, and they're sitting pretty now to be in a position to potentially get into a sectional championship, and who knows what will happen from that point forward.
Yeah. Moving on down the line in Class 2A, we move down to Sectional 35, and kind of a cross one with some area teams, and all area teams still remaining here. And I think this is where it starts to really get good with this sectional, because we saw some teams that, just not usually on the winning side of things. So looking ahead, Manchester took care of Prairie Heights. Eastside romped Whitco. Adams Central was up 70-0 at halftime over Central Noble, and then they moved on to win that game easily. And I think the game, another really top game in our area, you see there, Bluffton moves on. They get a 39-38 victory over Cherubusco in Turtletown on Friday night. Another circle the game in the sectionals, because that was a big one. That it was one of the better games, I think, probably across the state of Indiana, maybe. And then ultimately Bluffton escapes with the win. Back and forth all night, Coach. Exciting game to watch. Tough to see when you have two top teams like that, two really good teams. Somebody's going to have to win. Somebody's going to have to lose and go home. For Cherubusco, their season is over, but those Bluffton Tigers continue on and get another crack at Adams Central.
Yeah, and again, have them at home, which will be an advantage for them, especially when you're in the playoff part of the, of the season. And, they're going to have a chance to really take a look at what Adams Central was able to do to them that game that they played a couple weeks ago, because Adams Central pretty much shut them down offensively, which we weren't totally anticipating. So this will be an intriguing game on Friday night. And hey, look, Manchester at 7-3 is an intriguing game against Eastside. So some interesting ball games there in Sectional 35.
Yeah, absolutely. On the top half of that, Manchester and Eastside. Eastside, also another team that is now 8-2, kind of quietly have gotten to that point, because early on it was kind of like, okay, what's this team going to be? But ultimately they took a couple tough losses, but they've rebounded nicely, turned it into a great year. There again, they knock off Whitco 48-0. They squeaked by Angola to close out the regular season. They've put up a lot of points, 37 points a game. Eastside Blazers, their defense giving up 13.5. Job Richmond, their quarterback there, Noah Dove in the backfield. So you could call this game almost the Alex Brandewie Bowl, as Alex was the head coach at Manchester before he came over to Eastside, and has been there the last 3 years. So that one should be interesting, because Manchester, not a team we talk about, just to the west of Fort Wayne in the Three Rivers Conference. But there again, they play tough competition like Mechaniqua. I know that conference has changed a little bit too in the last couple of years. But Rochester was the champion. Mechaniqua's in there. Some of the area teams from Kokomo, some of those Wabash County schools like Wabash and Northfield, and so. Peru, another team that, it's been a down year for some of those teams, but year in and year out, that gets to be a tough conference. And so it'll be really interesting to see what we see out of Manchester, but it should be a fun one there up in Butler, Indiana at Eastside High School on Friday night. And then, of course, those winners move on. So I do like Eastside in that game, but and to face the winner of Adams Central Bluffton, which hard to beat a team twice unless it's Adams Central. It's like Adams Central just beats everybody, so it'll be really interesting stuff. But Axton Becks, we had him early on in the season, great quarterback for them, and a lot of Cooper Craig and a lot of those great targets that they have at West Nova. And I think
Sectional 44 next.
34? All right. 44. Okay. Yeah. Down to Class 1A, and really one team in our area from this sectional, and a lot of schools that, quite honestly, we've never talked about, like a school like Hagerstown and Monroe Central.
Yeah.
But that bottom half, Coach, South Adams, makes the trip to 𝗏, which is in Cambridge City, Indiana. And believe it or not, there's a second high school in Cambridge City called Cambridge City Lincoln. So a town named 𝗏 has two schools. So there you go. But ultimately, South Adams, this reigning sectional champion, they get a convincing win over Madison Grant a week ago. That South Adams team, we talk about the momentum that they have from a year ago, continuing to move through things. They looked really good on Friday night. They looked good throughout the season. And I think they're going to have a chance to really shine this Friday against 𝗏.
Yeah, and I think if they get by that, they'll probably face Monroe Central, another team that's had, some good seasons down there. I think they've all kind of, out of the 𝗪𝚑𝚂𝚑𝚘, have faced Monroe Central at some point in time. I know South Adams has played them before. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's Monroe Central and South Adams, which would be at South Adams, the way it looks here on the bracket.
The Starfire 7-3. Their three losses were Bluffton, Adams Central, and then week 1 against Marion Local out of Ohio. And even in that Bluffton loss, they scored 41 points. I mean, this is a team that is scoring a lot. They only had 7 against Adams Central, and they were shut out against Marion Local. So they've scored 41 or more in 8 of the 10 games. Basically all their wins. So that bodes well too. They put 45 up against Madison Grant, and their defense held Madison Grant back. And so now looking ahead to 𝗏. Now 𝗏's a team 48 points a game. So they're going to have their work cut out for them, but this is the point of the year where you play the other schools that are around your size. And so it'll be really interesting to see what South Adams takes away from playing in such a tough 𝗪𝚑𝚑𝚘 against some of the big boys like Adams Central and Bluffton in there too. And I think that's it for Fremont still in there. We'll just mention them really quick. And they're because they got past Blackhawk Christian 48-10. Now they move on in sectional 43. They host Triton, which is also 7-3 there too. So a big game for Fremont. And they continue to move on. They've, looking back, 4-7 year ago, 3-7, 3-7, 3-7, 7-3 this season, and getting some things back on track.
Yeah, they got a chance again. They're in that sectional. I think it's a favorable sectional. I think those teams are pretty much, kind of parity in that sectional. So we'll see what happens on that. And we're going to take a break, step outside, and we'll come back and we'll set the table for 6A and 5A, and also conclude where we will be at this Friday night for round 2 of the sectional. All right here on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Welcome back to Upon Further Review here on Wednesday night on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. Alongside 𝗪𝘑𝚘𝚘𝚗, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and we are rolling. And now we get to invite the big boys into the sectional this week, as all 6 levels of high school football will be in competition on Friday night, as the 5As and 6As are benefactors of a bye week for those upper division teams, which is good in the sense that you can heal some bumps and bruises, and essentially you get 2 weeks to prepare for your first round opponent, and maybe kind of guess on what you may face after this week in that respect, kind of give you a chance to plan some things out, because once you get rolling, it's right back into it, and it moves quickly through the weeks after this because of tournament play, and you blink and it's already for state. That's what I feel like sometimes.
Absolutely.
It's like deja vu at Leo this week, and we started the season out there against Bishop Lures, and we ended we came out and did their final game at home against Bishop Dwenger. So it was kind of a unique situation where we did their first game and last game of the year, but unfortunately for the Lions, they fell to the Dwenger Saints. And congratulations to Coach Garrett and his squad for a big win on the road. And again, Bishop Dwenger is going to be a team that will have a chance to go a long way because of the way their defense is playing thus far. So we're going to jump in now into 6A as we jump to Sectional 2. We've got Carroll and Elkhart playing at Elkhart on Friday night. Another trip to the north for Carroll. I think that's like 3 years in a row they've gone on the road on week 1 up north. And then, of course, the rematch out at Spooler Stadium, this time with the Bruins being the host team. Snyder and Northrop will rekindle their, I guess you could say, rivalry again after the Bruins beat Snyder in during the season. This ball game will be a rubber match, essentially, and an interesting one because Snyder was going to want to redeem themselves from that loss earlier on. But this Carroll Elkhart game, this has a lot of intriguing situations around it as well, because both teams come in 6-3. Elkhart is very similar to Carroll. They can do a lot of things. They got pretty good skill up there, and of course Carroll with Freisinger and what he's been able to do. They're probably playing their best football at this point in time, but that should be a dandy of a game up there in Elkhart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned it, 6-3 for both of these teams. Second year for the coach there at Elkhart, Trayvon Curry, and the way it's shaken out, just from a historical perspective, because people go and basically 32 teams in Class 6A. I think of another 32 in 5A. So that's why you see, and it's like, why is the odd man out here? Elkhart is the odd man out here. And then that we'll see in a little bit. Homestead is in that Hamilton County sectional with Noblesville and Hamilton Southeastern, and how that all works out. It's just the way it is with you got to make sectionals the way they are. But ultimately, Elkhart is a consolidation of Elkhart Central and Elkhart Memorial, so they're one of the really big boys now as an Elkhart kind of consolidated combined school. And look, they're in Class 6A and 6-3 years, and they play a lot of tough competition there too. Their losses: Concord by 6. They lost to Penn, lost to South Bend St. Joseph. And so big wins over Northridge and Marion, Mishawaka Marion. So, they're a tried and true program that's challenged a lot. They're offensively 31 points a game, 19 on defense. So a lot of similarities in that. And I think, that's, I think it's going to be interesting to see just how these teams match up. Just pulling up some of Elkhart's stats real quick, if I can here, looking at their player stats. 1,500-yard passer is their quarterback, Micah Gerald. He's got 12 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions on the year, 25 rushing touchdowns. So this is a balanced offense, 1,500 yards through the air, 1,800 yards and 25 touchdowns on the ground. So the Carroll defense is going to have its work cut out for them, because, a lot of times you play a team that is one-dimensional, so to speak. Elkhart showing, Coach, and I'll pose this question to you: the challenges of playing a team that is so good on the ground and through the air, they can beat you both ways. What does that present itself a challenge for Carroll this week, as far as getting preparation and how you go through practice the last 2 weeks preparing for a team like that?
Well, that's going to be the benefit of being able to prepare for a team like Elkhart, knowing that you're going to face a balanced football team that can either hurt you on the ground or through the air. And those are the type of games that, as it pertains to Carroll, you're not going to be able to take it all away. So you got to figure out what you're going to give to stop whatever their type of play is offensively for Elkhart. So again, the Carroll defense for the better part of the year has been pretty good. I don't anticipate it, tanking at this point in time. They've got, the really good linebackers. You got Neuheiser, Golddecker up in front, so they've got a defense that I think has played just as good in some respects as Bishop DeWanger's defense has for the better part of the year. The only teams that really scored on them this year, if I'm not mistaken, was Northrop. And that, 10-hour contest that we had a couple weeks ago. But that was the only team
my
that
laugh
really,
of sarcasm.
Yeah. That was the only team that really put a bunch of points up against them. Other than that, they've been pretty good for the better part of the year. So that's why I think this is going to be a game that, Carroll's going to have to play awful well on the road up in Elkhart. The disadvantage there is you have to get on a bus, drive about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go play a game. They're very accustomed to doing that. It's not like they've not done it before.
Right.
And, but it's always going to be a challenge, especially when you're playing a team that is just as talented as you are. And you got a quarterback that's going to, even though he's played great, he's going to be playing his first quote unquote tournament game. And that adds another dimension to the fray in that regard. But he's played so well the last few weeks. I really think he's going to be an asset for Carroll because of what he can do with the football, running it or throwing it. So, and then you got Van Pelt, who's just a phenomenal speedster. So I like Carroll, but I think it's going to be a tight ball game.
Yeah. Looking at that Elkhart defense, they've forced 17 turnovers, 6 interceptions, 11 forced fumble and recoveries, and then 17 sacks as well. So they like to get after the quarterback. It'll be interesting to see how that offensive line for Carroll holds up. Freisinger, the decisions we make. We've talked about he's a big kid, strong kid. His ability to move outside of the pocket was really beneficial against Northrop, and we'll see if that plays out on Friday. And speaking of Northrop, that bottom half, Snyder Northrop again back at Spooler Stadium. Northrop the host this week. They come in 7-2. Snyder 3-6. I think we've seen what Northrop has been able to do. We've talked about them all year. We've seen also what Snyder has been all year. But I think if you go back to that regular season finale for Snyder, they do something they hadn't done all year and come back and rally and beat Northside on the road at Chambers Field. They were down 20-3 with 30 seconds left in the third quarter. They stormed back for the win. Then they have the bye week, and now they have Northrop again. And wow, I'm really curious what we're going to get out of Snyder this week, this Friday, because there's got to be some boost of morale and what they were able to do and accomplish at Northside to close out the regular season.
Yeah. When you've had the year that Snyder has had, an uncharacteristic 3-6 season, any positive that you can take away, even if it's your last game, is going to be of benefit to you heading into the playoffs. And you've got a coaching staff there that's been through the wars, so they understand what's coming. They'll have their plan offensively and defensively for this Northrop squad. Northrop, by every facet of it, is more talented athlete-wise than what Snyder is, and you usually wouldn't be able to say that about this type of game. Snyder's had their fair share of out-athleting a lot of people in the Summit Athletic Conference. This game, with who Northrop lines up with, they're going to have an edge in the athlete department. Snyder has the edge in the fact that they've been in these instances so many times, the high school playoffs, the sectionals. What does it take to win a game? And you never discount that. That's why you can never say that they're out of it, because they did what they did against Northside 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago now. And you talked about them being down what they were and found a way to come back and win that game. And so that in itself is going to be a huge boost for that ball club heading into Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Snyder, 251 rushing yards against Northside.
Because Burton's back.
Burton is back. And Jordan Davis had a nice game. In fact, he was named All-SAC first team again, which may have been a little bit of a surprise, but I think ultimately he was, 2 years running for him, and it'll be interesting. Johnson has been the quarterback for Snyder the last couple of games. He's kind of taken over. And so, Snyder was able, 326 total yards of offense against Northside, 251 on the ground, that ground and pound style, 5 for 12 on third down. That was a big part of what Snyder was lacking earlier on in the season, was the ability to convert third down. And so I don't want to say it's a completely different Snyder team by any stretch of the imagination. I think they come in it with a little bit more oomph than where they were probably 2 or 3 weeks ago after that Northrop loss. And Northrop still riding high. We got, Callison was the All-SAC first team quarterback. Guilford, of course, the wide receiver first team. Maddox Weil was second team on that team. D. Hogue on defense, and Cornelius Jackson Jr. defensive selections on the first team for Northrop. So they've got a lot of playmakers. They had the recipe for doing it before. They shut down Snyder. Can you do it twice in a season? It's hard to do, something Northrop hasn't done very often. And now they're going to have to do it again as those two teams match up in a sectional game out at Spooler Stadium. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's kind of the run through, Coach, of all the
sectional 4.
Oh yeah, we don't want to
more
forget.
Here.
Yeah, we got a couple more.
And we don't have much time.
About Homestead and Northside.
And we've got sectional 4. This is the sectional that Homestead High School is in Friday, and that's where we will be on Friday night. Hamilton Southeastern at Homestead as the scheduled Midwest Box Breaks game of the week. I'm sorry, there, little hiccup, but that's where the Homestead Spartans will take on Hamilton Southeastern, 5-4, 6-3, in a very close and good sectional that Homestead is in, with Fishers and Noblesville. So Fishers probably is the tops of that division, and followed closely there by Hamilton Southeastern, but Homestead has them at home, and we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the Hamilton County sectional with all those teams except for Homestead. Homestead happens to get one of the home games in that. So that is helpful for them. And there again, we've talked about this. This is year 3, I think, of the SAC format. So this also applies to Carroll, and this will apply to, Northside when we talk about them here in a little bit. But playing outside the conference, those first 2 games, and scheduling some of the big boys, and all of that. Hamilton Southeastern just behind. So Carroll's at number 10, Hamilton Southeastern ranked number 11. So just outside of the top 10, others receiving votes. What I'm trying to pull up, I can't even remember who Homestead played. Homestead played Westfield and Noblesville to start out. They beat Noblesville. They took it on the chin to Westfield, 35-0. But ultimately, that's why you schedule those games. And that's what every coach in the SAC, especially from the big schools, has kind of told us. So it'll be very interesting as they went through the slate of games, how they consider. Look, what we saw out of Homestead and against Snyder a few weeks back on September 26th, that 38-0 was something, was really surprising. Then they followed up with that 49-0 loss to Carroll. So I think that's a big question too, is what do we see out of Homestead? Because they closed the season 25-0 win over Northside, 42-0 win over Concordia. Yeah, 2 B division schools that, those games don't really matter too much as far as SAC or anything like that. But ultimately, continuing to build, because 3 of their last 4 games, the Homestead Spartans defense has shut out the team on the other side. That's something that I think Chad Zollman and company are really going to, focus on too. The defensive effort too has helped them tremendously the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I tell you, we're running out of time here. So Northside takes on Goshen at Goshen on Friday night, and they're in sectional 11 and 5A. They will play the winner if they advance between Warsaw and Concordia. We will be at Homestead High School for the Parkview Sports Medicine pregame show at 6 o'clock. We are under the understanding right now that game will kick off at 7 there at Homestead, but make sure you double check the time because of Hamilton Southeastern coming from the south. That may get pushed back to a 7:30 start, but we will catch you there out at Homestead High School for round 2 of the sectionals. For Eric Dukevich, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. We'll catch you next time, all right here upon further review.